have a lesson. It's a fantastic and wonderful lesson. Do you know what's it about? Let's see together. Now, the lesson about. My dear student, what about this theory? It's nebula theory. Do you think this theory about what? It's occurred by the Laplace in 1796. What about to travel to say what happened? In cosmology of the nebula hypothesis is the most widely accepted model explaining the formation and evolution of the solar system. There is evidence that it was the first proposed in 1734 by Emmanuel, originally applied only to our solar system. This method of the planetary system formation is now thought to be at the work throughout the universe. The widely accepted modern variant of the nebula hypothesis in the solar nebula disk model, or SND&M, or simplified solar nebula model. According to hypothesis, the stars form the massive and dense cloud of the molecular hydrogen gained or the molecular ground by grains. GMC. They are gravitationally unstable and the matter collide to smaller, denser clumps within which then proceed to collapse and form stars. Star formation is a complex process which always produces the gases protoplanetary disk around the young star. This may give birth to planets in the certain circle which are not well known. Thus, the formation of the planetary system is thought to be natural result of star formation. A sun-like star usually take around 100 million years to form. Oh, it's great. The protoplanetary disk is an accelerated disk which proceeds to feed the central star. Initially very hot, the disk later cools in what is known T-theory star. T-theory star stage, yeah, here formation of small dust grains made of what do you think? Rocks and ice is possible. The grains may eventually collect into kilometer-sized plant small. If the disk is massive enough, the may be around the accelerated begin, resulting in the rapid 100,000 to 300,000 of years formation of the moon. Yes, two Morse-sized planetary imperials near the star. The planetary imperials go through stage of violent marriage, producing a few terrestrial planets. It's great. The last stage take around 100 million to a billion years. The formation of Green's planet is a more complicated process. It's thought to occur beyond the so-called snow line, where the planetary imperials are merely made of the very ice as a result of the Earth's several time. It's more massive than is the liner part of the protoplanetary disk. What follow after the imperious formation is not completely, yes, not completely clear. However, some imperials appears to continue to grow and eventually from the 5 to 10 Earth masses, yeah, the threshold value, which is necessary to begin accelerated of hydrogen, helium gases. Why? To form disk. The accumulation of gas by the core initially a slow process which continue for the several million of years, but after forming a protoplanet reaches about 30 Earth mass, it accelerated and proceed in runaway manner. The Jupiter and Saturn, like planets, are thought to accumulate the bulk of their mass during only 10,000 years. The acceleration stops when the gas is exhausted. The formed planet can migrate over long distance during or after their formation. The ice grain, like Uranus and Neptune, are thought to fill the course, which formed too late, when the disk had almost disappeared. Do you think we have a story about the solar system formation? Yeah. What about to see this lovely story? There is evidence in the nebula hypothesis was the first proposed in 1734 by Emmanuel. Yes, he was familiar with the sewage work development theory further in 1755. He argued that the gaseous cloud nebula, which slowly rotated, gradually collapsed and flattened due to gravity, and eventually formed stars, planets, and so on. A similar model was proposed in 1796. Yes, this is happened by Laplace. Yes, it's our theory. It featured, a contrasting and cooling protostar, cloud, the protostar nebula, which later collapsed into the planets, while the Laplace nebula model dominated in 19th century. It encountered a number of difficulties. The main problem was the angular momentum distribution between Sun and the planet. The planets have about 99% of the angular momentum, and this fact couldn't be explained by the nebula model. As a result of the theory of planet formation was largely abandoned at the beginning of 20th century. The fall of the Laplace model stimulated scientists. Why? To find replacement for the during 20th century, many theories were proposed, including planet small theory. It's wonderful. But do you think what Laplace also, the initial Laplacian idea, it's about the planet formation and developed the modern Laplace theory? None of these attempts was completely successful. But and many of the proposed theory were discredited. The birth of the modern widely accepted theory of the planetary formation, solar nebula disk model, don't forget, S and D and M, can be traced of the work of Soviet. My dear, the way of scientists think about the formation of the planet in the special book for the Soviets, almost all the major problems of the planetary formation process were formulated and some of them solved. Safronova, yes, Safronova idea were the further developed by George Withrow, who discovered runaway acceleration, while originally applied only to our solar system. S, N, D, and M were subsequently thought the theory to be the work throughout the universe of 30 September, 2013. Also, 990 extrasolar planets have since been discovered in our galaxy. What about solar model? The star formation process naturally results in the appearance to accelerated disk around young stellar object. At the age about 1 million years, 100% of the star may have such a disk. This conclusion is supported by the discovering of the gases and dusty disks. So, the around the protostar, the T2 star, as well as by the theoretical condition, observation of these disks show what? Show dust green. Yes, inside them grow in size in the shortest thousands of years. Oh, it's long way, producing 1 centimeter sized particle. Wonderful and great. The acceleration process by the which 1 kilometer planet small grow into 1,000 kilometer sized bodies is well understood now. This process developed inside any disk where the number of the density of the planet small is sufficient and high proceed in a runway manner. My dear, growth later slow and continue as algebraic acceleration. The end result formation of the planetary imperials of vary for the size, vary for the shape, vary for everything, which is depending on distance from the star. Variation. All the universe in variation. Estimators have demonstrated that the mergers imperials in the inner part of the protoplanetary disk led to the formation of few Earth-sized bodies. Thus, of the origin terrestrial planet is now considered to be the almost solved problem. Do you think it is a lovely space? It has a problem? Sure. The physics of acceleration disk encounters some problems. The most important one is how the material which accelerated by protostar lose its angular momentum. Yes, one possible explanation is suggested by Hans. This Hans tells us was the angular momentum was achieved, by the solar wind during the Tertiary phase. The momentum is probably what? Probably transported to the outer part of the disk. But the price of the mechanism of the transport not well understood. Another possible process for shedding angular momentum is magnetic braking, where the spin of the star is transferred into surrounding disk via the star's magnetic field. The process or processes responsible for disappearance of the disk are also poorly known. My dear, what about the formation of the planet small? The biggest unsolved problem in the nebula disk model, how 1 centimeter sized particle falls into 1 kilometer. Oh, can you do that? I think it's difficult from 1 centi to 1 kilo. Planet small is a master. This mechanism appears to be the key of the question as to why some stars have planets while the other have nothing around them. It's dust belt, the formation of the green belt. This green for the planets is another unsolved problem. It's easy to explain that. Current theory are unable to explain how their cores can form the fast enough to accumulate significant amount of gas from the quickly disappearing protoplanetary disk. The mean lifetime of disk, which are less than 10 power 7 years, appears to shorter than the time necessary for the core formation. My dear, I have a lot of problem. The first, second, third. Another problem of the green planet formation is migration. Some calculations show that interaction with the disk can cause the rapid inward migration, which, if front stopped, results in the planet reaching to center region still as sub-Jouvin object. Solar nebula. It's a sphere of the gases and the dust from which the planet of the solar system was originated. My dear, nebula, it's especially occurred by Simon Laplace published that the research is entitled The World Order. The research including a presentation de Laplace about evolution of solar system. This presentation, which won the great reputation for century, has been affected by two observations, which are: for the first one, there is something that looks like cloud or nebula. Don't forget, it means glowing gases sphere revolving around itself. This is nebula. The second one, this is occurred in the space contain many cloudy rings surrounding some planets, such as rings of planet Saturn. Assumption of the nebula theory. The nebula theory depended on the many points. The first one about the nebula glowing gases sphere. Over the time, the nebula lost its heat gradually, so its side contracted and revolving speed around itself. What about to travel to crossing star? Crossing star is the other theory. This is occurred by Chamberlain and Moulton. Both are two scientists explain what happened for crossing star. Let's fly. This is happened in 1905. Ready? Yeah. Assumption of the crossing star. The solar system was originally the sun. Huge star approached to the sun. This star attracted to the sun to it slowly and slowly, which led to the great expansion in the part of the sun facing it. This expanded part was exploded. What happened? It led to gaseous time was formed a great lens from the sun. The sun escaped from the gravity of this star. The gaseous line started to condense and condense. This has happened due to the attraction force. Then it called forming the planets. This is the beginning for the forming a planet. My question: why the sun escaped from the gravity to crossing star? Directly, we can say due to explosion of the expanded part of the sun. My dear, don't forget the Chamberlain and the Moulton planet smell hypothesis was proposed in 1905 by geologist Thomas Chamberlain and astronomer the first Moulton to describe the formation of the solar system. Also, it's a very important theory to explain that. It was proposed as replacement for the Laplace variation, which you studied before. This has happened in 19th century. The theory was based on the idea that a star based close enough to the sun early in its life to cause tidal, also forming on its surface, which along with the internal process that leads to the solar prominences cause the material to eject repeated from the sun due to the gravitational effect of the passing star. My dear, two spiral-like arms would have extend and extend for the sun, and while most of the material would have the fallen back, part of the wood remain in orbit. This orbiting material would cool, condensed, and the numerous small bodies that they are termed planet small and a few large protoplanets. Their theory proposed that these objects collide over time. The planet and their moons were built up with the comet and asteroid being the leftover described the spiral nebula, which was studied for the Laplace. Photographed at a like observatory were the thought to possible be view of the other suns undergoing this process. Wonderful. These nebula are now known to be galaxies rather than developing solar system. Also, in 1917, James Hopwood James urged that only very closely approaching a second star was necessary to eject the material instead of the requiring solar system. My dear, this is not only. There is a lemon should also tell me about the column material drawn out from the sun would be beside the rather than condensed. By this time, theory had mostly fallen out favor, and in solar material had been pulled away. How that? Yes, it's pulled away from the sun with the forces necessary to account for the angular momentum, Jupiter. Yeah, the material would have controlled and continued out to the solar system and earlier. Through temporal and molten theory, no longer accepted the idea of the plasma remains in modern theory. It's a wonderful theory, but also it tells us about the person in our solar system. We think, yeah, the solar system is the standard model for the formation, including the Earth by crossing a star. In this model, solar system formed for the large rotating cloud and instead of the dust and the gas called nebula. Also, it was composed of the hydrogen, helium, created shortly materials. This has happened after Big Bang. I think you remember Big Bang, which told us about the formation of the solar system. My dear, the nebula began contracting may have been about target of the shock wave a nearby supernova. A shock wave would have also made the nebula rotate. As the cloud began to accelerate. When it accelerated, the angular momentum, gravity, and the inertia flattened into protoplanetary disk. This protoplanetary disk perpendicular to the axis of rotating. A small perturbations due to collision and the angular momentum of the other large disappears create the means by which a kilometer-sized protoplanetary began to form. Forming what do you think? Yes, orbiting the nebula of the center.